Hello friends, welcome to my channel ELS English Literature Studies with Gaur Harpreet. Today I will discuss one of the leading writers of the Victorian era. Yes, I'm talking about George Eliot, a novelist of Victorian era. So let's get started with the topic. George Eliot, an English novelist, poet, journalist, translator, and one of the leading writers of the Victorian era. Her real name was Mary Ann Evans, and she was known by her pen name, George Eliot, right? Her real name was Mary Ann Evans, but she was known by name George Eliot, which was created in 1857, right? And there were two reasons behind this. What was the reason? Firstly, we can say the male name was created by her to conceal the gender of the author, right? She wanted to escape the stereotype of women's writing being limited to light-hearted romances. She also wanted to have her fiction judged separately from her already existing stereotyped class of women. Those were limited to light-hearted romances, right? That was the first reason. And secondly, she wanted to shield her social position, living as an unmarried woman with a married man. So these were the two reasons that she was known by her pen name, right? She wrote under this pseudonym George Eliot. She was shunned by friends and family because of her social position, but it was George Henry Lewis who encouraged her to write. Right, the philosopher and critic George Henry Lewis was a philosopher and critic who met Evans in 1851, and then by 1854 they decided to live together, right? And the revelations about their private life shocked many of her admiring readers. Rather, this relationship gave her more encouragement, and we can say gave her more stability she needed to write fiction. This relationship made her more strong. Right. Finally, their relationship was accepted in society in 1877. When they were introduced to the daughter of Queen Victoria. The Queen Victoria herself was an avid reader of all of Eliot's novels, and she was so impressed with Adam Bede, right? And we think this is an achievement of George Eliot that Queen Victoria herself was her reader. And in 1856, she began Scenes of Clerical Life, which was published in Blackwood's magazine. Whenever we read an author or a poet, the very first thing which comes to in our mind is what is the need to read it, right? Is it necessary from exam point of view, or it is really, we can say, very important novelist? And the same question I think arises here: why was George Eliot important? Why we want to read her, right? George Eliot, as we know, was an English Victorian novelist. She was important because she was known for the psychological depth of her characters and descriptions of English rural life. She contributed to the English novel an air of sobriety, sternness, and seriousness, which we can say which was not attained in the hands of early Victorian novelists. Right, this is a contribution to the Victorian era. Right. Then in 1851, she became an editor of the Westminster Review, which was a sensible and open-minded journal, the Westminster Review. Here she came into contact with the group known as the Positivists, and they were followers of the doctrines of the French philosopher, right? Auguste Comte, and who were interested in applying scientific knowledge to the problems of society. What was the purpose of these positivists? That they were interested in applying scientific knowledge to the problems of society, right? And one of them was George Henry Lewis, with whom she formed a long-lasting relationship, right? Then, as we are here to discuss George Eliot as a novelist, so these are her novels with dates: Adam Bede 1859, The Mill on the Floss 1860, Silas Marner 1861, Romola 1863, Felix Holt the Radical 1866, Middlemarch 71 to 1871 to 72, and Daniel Deronda 1876, right? These are her major works, and her early novels, Adam Bede, then The Mill on the Floors, and Silas Marner. These three. These are her, we can say, early novels. These are concrete in the presentation of the life of the Midland countries of Warwickshire and Derbyshire, which she intimately knew, right? And Eliot presented the cases of social outsiders and small town persecution here. Realism and faithful portraiture of the life and character known to her, the hallmarks of her novel, right? She did not care much about plot construction. She was governed by her idea. She was not bound to the society, right? And then we have Romola, which was a historical novel set in late 15th century, right? And her novels, these all novels are we can say well known for their depictions of rural society. Much of the material is drawn from her own experiences, right? She once shared with Wordsworth the belief that there is much value and beauty to be found in the mundane details of ordinary country life. And in 1880, after the death of Louis, she married a friend of long standing, John Walter Cross, and George Eliot died in London in 1880, right? And she gained, we can say, extreme respect and admiration from her peers and fellow novelists because of her these works. So friends, this is all about George Eliot as a Victorian novelist. I hope you will like the content, and if you like it, please hit the like button, share and subscribe my channel, and if you're new to my channel, please hit the bell button so that you can get notifications for my upcoming videos. Thanks a lot for watching.